Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman. I am so excited now to do this show because it is the most recent Sentai completed. Kaito Sentai Lupinranger versus Keisastu Sentai Patoranger. Alright. I got done with this show 2 days ago. And so I just need to finish up my script and that's all. And hopefully this will cheer me up today. But yeah, Lupinranger versus Patoranger. I did not watch this show when it came out because I got lazy and was watching a lot more Kamen Rider. But now that I've watched this show in its entirety, I am now ready to like this show, as well as nitpick a few things, because don't get me wrong, this is not a bad show, but there are plenty of things to comment on. And I need water, but fix that issue. So, let's kick off the show, starting off with the opening. I really like it. It's a jazzy opening, but it falls more into the favor of the Lupinrangers because they're Phantom Thieves, so they got to have that jazz style going on, and it's phenomenal. But it's a good type of jazzy song, not because of the type of tone that jazz music brings, but it's also going on about justice as well, and it works for a tokusatsu show. Even Koda agrees. But with that said, starting off now with episode 1, The Troublemaking Phantom Thieves. I do not know if that's the actual title. I'm getting that off the wiki. Our show opens in a casino. Super Sentai, for kids. We open our show in a casino where one of the monsters of the show, a gangler, is at work swindling customers that gamble all their money away. And then 3 colorful figures crash through glass, breaking in. Now, these are the Phantom Thieves everyone's been talking about. They crash in, they shoot first and ask questions never, and expose the gangler's monster form as well as themselves as the Kaito Sentai Lupinranger. Now, I'm not going to talk about the suits now because I'm going to wait until we get to talking about the Patoranger suits too. So, the Lupinrangers destroy the monster and steal a piece of the Lupin collection that was inside of the monster. Time for backstory. 500 years ago, the famous Phantom Thief, Arsène Lupin, had a collection of dangerous and powerful treasures called the Lupin Collection, and one day the ganglers attacked. Lupin was killed, and his collection was stolen, and it's the Lupinranger's job to retrieve them. Now, before getting back to the plot, I'm surprised this show wasn't an anniversary season, because every treasure in the Lupin collection is a modified version of a Sentai prop from a previous Sentai. For example, the first 2 treasures we see are based off of the Zuo Changer from Zuoger and Shinken Red's Origami Zord from Shinkenger. So, and as for the Lupinrangers, they beat the monsters before right around the time the global police arrive and find the Lupinrangers have already taken care of the gangler, and they escape. So, let's get into our main characters. The ones to focus on. I don't know why I said that, and I can't take that back now. Anywho, we're starting off first with the Lupinrangers. We have Lupin Red, Kairi, Lupin Blue, Toma, and Lupin Yellow, Yumika. Now, and for the Patorangers, Patore Ichigo, Keiichiro, Patore Nigo, Saikia, and Patore Sango Tsukasa. Now, the Patorangers are part of the Global Police Tactical Unit. that's specifically designed to deal with the Ganglers, since in show they do explain the Ganglers have recently been active. Part of said unit are the supporting characters, Jim Carter, a robot that looks like Frosty the Snowman partly melted, and seriously, who made that suit? Like, it looks like X-Aid's level 1 form melted after being in storage since the end of the show. And Commissioner Hilltop, a black guy, just like me. He's an important character, and the Patorangers' commanding officer, and I approve all around. Selwyn Ward, the first black leader of the Power Rangers, he would approve too. And now, back to the Lupinrangers. Now, their cover is that the three of them work at a bistro, as they were all not chosen, but offered to fight the Gangler by a man named Kogeru, who is a missionary for a descendant of Arsene Lupin's family. How they also know of when and where monsters will attack are through Kogeru. Now, I could be saying his name wrong. It could be Kogeru, maybe. I'll pronounce it like that. As he gives them details on the monsters of the week and the collection piece. Now, to get on with the villains, our villain group this time is the interdimensional crime group Gangler. The Ganglers are, well, yeah, a gang. They're actually the mob. The mob boss is Dogranio Yaboon, and next to him are his generals, his right-hand man, Destra, and Gotch, who is a scientist as well as the one who makes the monsters grow. Speaking of which, about the monster designs right now, look at Gotch and... Oh, alright. Okay, now I know my place. Now I know I want to say first. This show has the most bizarrest monster designs I've ever seen before. It's not like it's not like Q-Ranger where there's always some monster with a long neck. It's in this show, like, look at Gotch and Destra, and they both look like if they were toys Sid from Toy Story would have crafted together. Like, Destra's feet doesn't even match the rest of his suit. Like, what the hell? And now, I got back to Dogranio because you think for a mob bot. Now, what do I want to say? And now, I got back to Dogranio because you think for a mob boss, I first thought he would have looked a bit more. You think at first Dogranio, the mob boss, would look a bit more like, Destra. But then again, he's the Godfather, and if you've ever seen the Godfather's not standoffish. He's going to look subdued and is all about business, while everyone else does the work around him. But you still know you don't fuck with him. Now, the idea of the Ganglers alone, I like it. The goal of the Ganglers is that Dogranio is looking for a successor to take over and be the new boss and let them take over the world. That's awesome. Now, they still want to take over, but yeah, they're the mob. The mob runs like that. Now, let's talk about their suits. Both the Lupinrangers and the Patorangers, since they get their morphers and their suits at this point of the story. I freaking love the Lupinrangers' outfits. They are so phenomenal. And it's mainly because the secondary color to the suits are black. Not only that, they're fitting out the entire Phantom Thief design in the suits. with the secondary color being black, they have on the capes, and the straight up best part of the suit are the helmets, because they have like fancy top hats coordinated on the visors, and they're colored. That is the best. Now, as for the Patoranger suits, I'm not particularly the biggest fans of them, and that's mainly because I'm not a fan of all of the white on the chest. Like, that's just me. I feel like there's a little too much white on the chest. I like those, like, shoulder pads that they have, like, on their actual shoulders and on their arms. But I don't know. I feel like for cop uniforms, there's a little too much white. But I still get where they're going. But I still get where they were going with it, because you see, like, the tie designed into the suit. But I'm still just not a particular fan of, like, all the white. The helmets look nice now, with the badges on them and stuff. Like, that's nice. Alright, so next, let's talk about the Morpher. It's a gun, and morphers that are guns are cool. But this one's a little weird. It's like, it looks... I sort of can't help but think of it as a toy, sort of. Especially when I look at, like, the actual trigger, the button. It's just so thin. Like, and I probably get the type of trigger they're... Like, the button's just so thin and small. Like, it should stand out a bit more to be an actual gun. Like, to be an actual gun trigger. But how it works is still nice, though. Like, one side for the Lupinrangers to morph from, and another side for the Patorangers to morph from. Other than that, the functionality of it is a little different and a little confusing, because for summoning the Zords, which way do they twist it or something? I don't know. But the design itself, though... Anywho, the Versus Changers are actual pieces of the Lupin collection. Why do the police have them? We don't know yet, because now we have a show with two teams, and they, of course, have it out because this is a Cops and Robbers Sentai. So, let's talk about the Zords next, because we get them in Episode 2, the Dial Fighters and the Trigger Machines. Yeah. One of the downsides about this show, it's the Zord design. It's the mech designs, for me, honestly. Like, the Dial Fighters don't look bad, but I really don't like the Trigger Machines for how simplistic they are. Keep in mind right now, I'm a huge fan of simplicity, but I feel like in this, it's just a little too much. Because Pinks, I do not like Pinks. It's a car with a hand and a baton. And no. Like, I'm not a big fan of, like, mechs with literally the hand sticking out so you can tell what piece of the Megazord they're going to be. It's just a little stupid, in my opinion. And yeah. But in the second episode, it just brings more explanation dumping. But also a new character for both sides. Another piece of the Lupin collection, a Zord, Good Striker, who is based off of Speedor, Gohan Red's engine from Engine Sentai Go-Onger. Now, let's talk about Good Striker, or Goody, as the Lupinrangers call him, is a little shit. Like, I'm sorry, I'll be real now. Good Striker is a little shit because of the crap he pulls sometimes, and at first it's hard to assume whose side he's on, the Lupinrangers or the Patorangers, because he helps both teams, but ultimately he's one of few collection pieces. He's one of a few collection pieces modified to protect the Lupin collection. He just does what he does because he gets excited in the moment. I don't know. I guess Megazord battles are his way of having sex. I'm assuming. Anywho, Good Striker is also useful for finishers. With the Lupinrangers, he multiplies red into 3 to add more manpower to the attack. And with the Patorangers, he fuses the 3 of them together into one body as Patore Union. Because why not? It's just being an asshole, is all. Who cares? And 2, he is the main important piece for the Dial Fighters and the Trigger Machines to combine into their primary mechs, Lupin Kaiser and Patore Kaiser. So let's talk about those mechs. I, once again, do not like the mech designs. Like, I guess Lupin Kaiser takes a little Okay, I'll be real. Lupin Kaiser, it takes some getting used to. My only complaint about it is how huge all of the pieces are on top. My one complaint about it is how huge and bulky all the pieces are, just right on top of Good Striker. It's just so. But Pato Kaiser. Pato Kaiser. Pato Kaiser looks a lot more terrible. Like, it looks like a midget wearing heavy knight armor. It's just weird. Pato Kaiser, it just looks so short. Like, it looks so short because, like, here is Red's car right on top to be the head, but then it looks like there's sort of no neck for him, and it's just his collar. And so it makes me think the mech's just like this. Yeah. Nah. Ugh. I really just don't like Pato Kaiser. Lupin Kaiser, it gets more tolerable over time, but not Pato Kaiser. Well, that's enough about the gear. Now on to the characters. Kairi, Toma, and Yumika's reason for fighting the Ganglers and becoming the Lupinrangers is because 1 year ago, which is when the Ganglers became active in our world, there was one person who froze and killed their loved ones. Kairi's older brother, Toma's fiance, and Yumika's best friend since elementary school. Kogere discovers each of them and tells them about the Lupin collection, and once it's all together, it could grant any wish so they could bring the deceased back to life. They even promise that even if one of them dies, the rest will continue on to make their wish come true. And you get that in the first episode. Like when Toma and Yumika are both captured by the second monster of the first episode, Kairi masks off, dashes into the monster, and shakes him off, freeing Toma and Yumika. Now, their backstories aren't revealed all at once. It's done in the first focus episodes. Like, I like Yumika's because she is the little sister of the team, but she is still very competent on her own. And Toma's was good because you get why. It's for his fiancé. And also, he seems to act recklessly about it at first, with him trying to steal one of the Patorangers versus Changers while working their day jobs. Dude, you better not have security cameras to expose you even more. Yeah, need water again. So, Episode 5 begins the Auxiliary Zord hunting part of the show. Now, they're all sporadic episodes where the Lupinrangers or the Patorangers gather and collect the Auxiliary Zord collection pieces in the run before episode 20. The Lupinrangers collect the Dial Fighters, Cyclone, and the Dial Fighter dual set, Scissor and Blade, and the Patorangers possess the Trigger Machines, Biker, and the Trigger Machine dual set, Crane and Drill. I like Crane and Drill. So in episode 8, it's the first episode where Kairi and the others are suspected of being the Lupinrangers. And why? Who? I don't know. But what I do know is that it's not too hard to realize someone wearing a mask. They are wearing the types of masks that Green Lantern wears. Dear God, while we're at it, what crimes have the Lupinrangers committed? They didn't steal anything that wasn't anyone's to begin with. If anything, they're not thieves. They're recovery agents. So this just makes the global police sound a little prejudiced. Keep in mind, what the Lupinrangers are after is what's part of the Patorangers' arsenal. So don't you think it would be better for them to study the Lupin collection more and evidence and theories and create those evidence and theories as to why the Lupinrangers are collecting them? Any thief would go steal, but this is constant for them every time they manage to retrieve it. Moving on. Episode 10, we meet our fourth villain and the one behind the serial freezings, Zamigo Delma. Zamigo Delma, played by an actor we've seen before already this year in KamenRider Zeo, Jinji Irie. He was one of the future riders as well as the Kikaider reboot. And Zamigo is actually pretty interesting, not because he's twisted, because his monster form has 2 safes, because he doesn't possess any collection pieces. They're there for him to literally pull out his guns because he dual wields. Zamigo has his ice powers that if he freezes you, you're done. His ice is so powerful, he can make new guns from it. That's how powerful he is. Like, since he's the one who killed Kairi's brother, Toma's fiance, and Yumika's best friend, they all, of course, wants to go after him. But for now, this starts the rivalry with Kairi and him. So, episode 11. This episode is the thing. The Patorangers are more focused on the job at hand. They don't really care about publicity or looking good, no matter how much the Lupinrangers overshadow them. They're cops. They're cops. Their jobs are to be cops, protecting justice. And episode 11 is about the Patoranger movie they make that gets screwed around because of a gangler. I only mention this episode because it's a break from the plot, and it's overall weird, because the monster of this week has the ability to change genders, and he does it to the Patorangers. Even on the wiki, it has it word for word, could this be the work of a gangler? Yes, it would, because what else would it be to target the Patorangers? Like, the last thing I'll say about this episode is when Lupin Kaiser is formed, they use the Scissor and Blade Dial Fighters, and the monster changes the blade into a hammer. Do inanimate objects have genders? So, and if so, then this show for children is teaching me that blades represent penises and hammers represent ovaries, apparently. But, moving on, farther ahead to episode 20, we learn about the hierarchy among the gangler. There are normal ones with one save, but this episode shows the first of ganglers that are a status double, meaning they have 2 saves and therefore 2 collection pieces. This happens right around the time we see a train coming from France introducing our 6th Ranger, Noel Takoa, aka Lupin X / Patoranger X, gold and silver, and they're both one person. And I'm not finding it hard enough to point out that despite being the 6th Ranger, on both sides he's 4th, and altogether he's 7th. Because this show came out in 2018, and for those 2 years, Toei forgot how to count. Anywho, Lupin / Patoranger X, let's talk about his suits. I freaking love his suits. The Lupin X suit is phenomenal. I love it. I love the chest armor on it. It's so amazing. I want that chest armor just for if I get into a fight or sparring. It just looks so cool. And the Patoranger X suit, it took a moment for me to get used to it, but over time, I really like that suit as well. He gets the bigger and longer arm pads, but overall, it's phenomenal. And I think this is actually the first Gold Ranger outfit we get that balances gold and white. And it's so phenomenal. But one thing I will admit that I don't like about Lupin / Patoranger X is his sword, because it's a sword that turns into a gun and it looks wrong. Now, here's why. Here's why guns that turn into swords are cool. It's because you switch the handle positions to adjust your grip and it'll look natural. When you have a gun that can turn into when you have a sword that can turn into a gun, you've already stuck in yourself in like one style. Yeah, like you're already stuck in one style and you have to find a spot for the trigger. And in this case, the shotgun trigger is too thin. Now, Noel is an undercover officer and an engineer under the Lupin family who modified the auxiliary Azord loop collection pieces. And once he found out that the global police were in possession of it, he infiltrated their ranks. Somewhere down the line, I still don't know how, he screwed the pooch, and a couple got lost. And 2 were sent to the tactical unit, and then the Patorangers, and 2 in the possession of ganglers. How the hell do you manage that? You're not FedEx. But while I'm still on that subject, at least the Lupin pieces were kept safe and not given to them. But everything else at this point just fell out of someone's pocket, and here we are. Moving on, the underlying issue right now is whose side is he really on? And in episode 21, there's a solution. After the monster of the week is defeated, the Lupin Rangers leave and Noel morphs to attack them 3-on-1 right in front of the Patorangers. Of course, it's a trick to fool the Patorangers into thinking that Noel is on their side, and when in reality, they all set it up. Now, the Patorangers trust Noel, so they won't be so suspicious of him. and with him on their side, they could be less likely to destroy the monster before getting in another piece of the collection. Though really, the one thing out of all this that I like is that Kairi and the others, they're not like Keiichiro and them. Despite being cops, they're less likely to just take his word and watch out for him. Like, now, let's talk about Noel's mechs. Wow, we're still talking about him. So the Lupinrangers have the Dial Fighters, jets. The Patorangers have, like, the Trigger Machines, cars. And Noel has trains for his Zords. He has the X-Trains, X-Train Silver, X-Train Gold, X-Fire, and X-Thunder. Once again, his Zords are, a little too much simplicity, because X-Train Silver is a little too pointy for a liner train. But X-Train Gold is just pretty clunky. It's pretty clunky. And you know what? His Zords, Gold and Silver, represent his Morpher, which must explain why Gold is so clunky, because it's the barrel and trigger. Speaking of which, the trains are the Zords. They can combine into his Megazord, to which he has two formations of, X-Emperor, so X-Emperor Slash and X-Emperor Gunner. I'm not particularly the biggest fan of X-Emperor. It just looks off, and it just doesn't. It just looks so off. Like, the feet look pretty weird, because one's the head of the train and the other is just some random huge foot. It looks just so kind of ugly and strange. And X-Gunner doesn't look any better, because it's some big tiki head on top, with everything else looking just so cluttered. Not to mention the gun that he has. For Slash, the gun is literally, it's too big, and it's right on it's right through his chest, facing parallel. But with X-Emperor Gunner, he has a full-blown erection whenever he's shooting. Like, WTF. Like, literally WTF. And once again, I don't like the head. But altogether right now, I don't like X-Emperor at all. Next, so episode 23 until episode 25 introduces the start of the Lupinrangers and the Patorangers starting to work together. And it all starts with a gang of monsters, which only I bother to mention because of the last monster. He's the only one that's important, because the two others are regulars. Now, the last one, on the other hand, is important because he's a status gold. He possesses a gold safe that has a 6-digit dial to open, so it'll take 2 versus vehicles to open it. And both teams are unable to beat him divided. Yeah, the Patoranger and X-Emperor, because the monster can grow large without Gotch, and even larger, mops the floor with Patoranger and X-Emperor. And by the next episode, it all comes down to the Patorangers. Now, Limon, that's the monster, by the way. His collection piece allows him to heal faster. So the one option they have to is at least get an edge on him is to support the Lupinrangers in letting them steal the item. That way they can disarm his foilable. They do so. But Limon is still powerful on his own though. So of course he grows and Good Striker enters the scene to create a whole new, final combination for all the three main mechs, Lupin Kaiser, Pato Kaiser, and X-Emperor, all together to make Good Cool Kaiser VSX. Let's talk about this combination, and God, how awful it is. It looks terrible. I hate Good Cool Kaiser. It's not good or cool. Like, there's just so much wrong with it. The arms are too long and big. And straight up, the two ugly feet from X-Emperor, they're the feet down here. And guess what else, too? Like, pink and green Zords, they're literally just hanging out. Like, they're literally just hanging out while Pink's baton's out, just probably knocking over a few buildings. And it just looks so terrible. This is the complaint that people have about further mech combinations that have all of the Zords together. But this is a lot more terrible. It's like, in CGI, it looks a lot worse too. Like, seriously. In CGI, it's a lot more fucking awful. For Christ's sake. But it does have a great finisher, though. Like the vehicle rush attack, where all the mechs go out to attack, where all the vehicles come in to attack the monster together and go through him. That's awesome. Combination is still shit, though. Now, what I was going on about before with the Patorangers, working with the Lupinrangers, one thing stood out to me, and it was Keiichiro saying, "We are officers, we shouldn't be helping thieves." Like, that stood out to me because of how prejudiced that sounded. He basically said, we're not going to work with criminals because they're criminals. Yeah, that bugs me because name one crime they've committed. They may sound pretty judgmental on this. I may sound pretty judgmental on this episode, but it's actually pretty good because it's on Noel trying to get everyone together and to trust him. But you also see the underlying issue of having two teams. One side getting more development. Like, and the thieves and the cops really come together because they both know the situation, but they come to it not directly interacting with each other. It didn't seem natural. And to further the points I made and go further into the plot, the next two versus vehicles we get go to the Lupinrangers, like a blimp or Zeppelin called the Magic Dial Fighter, and a fire truck, the Trigger Machine Splash. Magic's been with Noel to give it a boost form, which I forgot to mention. All of the auxiliary Zords have a Kaito or Keisastsu boost, which is basically the Zords can actually be not actual Zord size, but come out to be weapon size, to be extra weapons for whoever's wielding them. That I forgot to mention earlier, sorry. And so, Keiichiro actually goes to obtain Splash by going out on a trip and fights Lupin Red for it and ultimately gives it to Lupin Red as the city is in danger, and he'll make it there faster by flight than by car. This could just be me, but Keiichiro should have retrieved Splash and beaten Lupin Red because of how much he worked to get it in this episode. And then at the end of the day, it's another one going to the Lupin Rangers. Now Keiichiro's got some caring character development in this episode too. Like what I said, 2 teams and having to flip a coin to see who gets what. And while the Lupin Rangers get character and development, they actually are competent. It's like the favor immediately falls towards the Lupin Rangers. And that's coming from me, and I'm Team Lupin Ranger. And so, Magic and Splash also, the auxiliary Zords, aren't like they aren't like armament mechs like to have literally on the arms. Like, they're the type of Megazord pieces that make the whole new formations that they get. Lupin Kaiser Magic and Lupin Kaiser Splash. Once again, I'm not particularly a big fan of Lupin Kaiser Magic. And I think it's because of the white that's part of this mech. I think the white just doesn't do it for me. And for Lupin Kaiser Splash Magic, that's all I'll say there. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention this episode too. While Trigger Machine Splash was in the hands of some illegal goods dealing criminals, and Keiichiro's trip was to retrieve it and book him, a long time ago, when Arsene Lupin was alive, he thought it was a good idea to just give away some auxiliary mechs so that they'll stay in the right hands. That is a completely stupid idea, and it would have been bad if some ganglers just dropped them without noticing. But that's a lot worse, if you've noticed. You're not putting change in a coin star. You're giving away devices / Zords that are powerfully dangerous in the wrong hands. It'd be ironic if Arsene Lupin was a descendant of Gosei, a Power Rangers Megaforce. Master Phantom Thief, everyone. Episode 29. It's not important. It's a clip show episode where Keiichiro loses his memory, and there's one moment where he does remember. Let's start this off here. Keiichiro loses his memory. Like, he doesn't remember anything before becoming a Patoranger. So he doesn't remember Sakia and Commissioner Hilltop. He looks at Hilltop and wondering if he would remember him. And he said he does remember him. But he mistook him for Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop. And I just said, no, that is racist, Toei. Daniel Tosh could even point that out if no one... Like, first, that's just racist, Toei. That's racist. No. I got that joke immediately and was like, no. Daniel Tosh could point that out, and he could tell that that's racist. Like, if you don't get that joke, watch Tosh.0. It's a fun episode, by the way. I only mention it because of that joke, But since I'm already talking about it, I'll stop here. And Noel even brings it to the attention of the Lupinrangers of Keicho's amnesia. And Toma and Kairi literally first say, nah, fuck him. While to be fair, when Keicho's not on the job, he hasn't made the best impression with them on the field because he's a tight ass. But so you get why they were willing to be like, nah, fuck him. And so, episode 32, both sides have to work together again against a science experiment gangler of gotchas that's a status quintuple, and Keiichiro, of course, is the only one with his head up his ass about it. Like, he literally takes Noel. It literally takes Noel having to duel him and losing to do it. But at the end of the episode, it's revealed Keiichiro threw the fight because he caught something from Noel while fighting. Small hints about what the Lupinrangers are after. As they think about it now, of course, the idea of working with the criminals is ludicrous to Keiichiro. I get that. But what I will question is his ignorance about it. And for people who have watched this show, don't get me wrong. Like, this wouldn't be like the first time ever where police cooperated with criminals. Like, watch an episode of Law and Order for the clarification. But wait, what about in Tokusatsu? Dekaranger. Like, trust me, even in Dekaranger, they've cooperated with criminals before in cases. So, real quick, something to eat. Sorry, I've been talking for like 47 minutes now. Episode 34. Noel makes a trip to a secret hideout of Arsene Lupin's to retrieve his most prized possession, the Lupin Magnum, and got caught in a trap. So Kairi and the others go rescue him. Oh, and in case anyone was wondering right there, that was Coda. Literally right above my camera. Dude. And so, yeah, Kairi and the others go to rescue him. And when they get there, the place is full of traps and can't have any help, not even from Goody. So they get to Noel, and the last trap is activated by a phrase. In French, it's break your shackles. The last trap is that they're illusions. Yeah, their last trap is that they're sent into illusions where they're talking to the ones they want to revive. Kairi's brother, Toma's fiance, and Yumika's best friend. Like, the only way out is for them to shoot the people as a form of letting go. Toma and Yumika fail to shoot their illusions, but Kairi passes. Like, he doesn't shoot his brother. He instead passes by accepting that he's never going to live up to be like his brother, and instead admits he's his own person, and he's going to live his life how he wants to as a phantom thief. And that's what gets him the Lupin Magnum. Now, let's talk about the Lupin Magnum. And also in the next episode as well, since the Lupin Magnum is the boy mech of the season. So, the weapon and its mech form. I real talk right now, Lupin Magnum is like the only mech in the show that actually looks good. And I mean that. In its gun form, it's pretty nice. It's good looking. But in its mech form, it's the only one that's not terrible. Like, seriously. It's the only good thing in this. It's the only good one in the show. Only one. So, episode 38, Zamigo joins up with Dogrenio for a job, and he does so by walking up to two ganglers and freezing, thus killing one, like a creepy bastard. Meanwhile, the next piece for the Lupin collection is in space. I finally get to use this clip.